I just love it. I love it so much.
It's classic as heck. Welcome to the Car ID Project Scars podcast. I'd like to apologize for being a little bit late to the game. I have a very unstable internet connection according to our streaming software, so we're going to do our best with what we got. It's going to be a fun day. Before we jump into it, I just want to tell you that the Project Scars podcast is presented by CarID.com, and from August 15th to September 6th, don't miss the Car ID Days promotion event. We're going to have huge discounts and free shipping on certain items. And we've got discounts on over, I think it's 4,000 individual parts. So if you are looking to get into something for your car, truck, or SUV, be sure to check out the ID Days promotional event. And if you do that, be sure to send us an email at tips@carid.com and show us what you bought and if you've installed it and how you feel about it. Just in general, if you want to provide any commentary on what we do at Car ID, especially on Car ID Drive, be sure to hit us up at tips@carid.com. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome our longtime frequent guest, Kyle Hyatt, to the show. How you doing, Kyle?
Oh, I mean, what isn't to love about Los Angeles in the summer? That's right, living in an old house when it's 900 million thousand degrees outside, which I think you can also sort of commiserate.
Relatable.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Real toasty, but it's the price you pay for 72 and sunny in like December.
That's true, and at least we have earthquakes too. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that we had for our those of us playing at home, we had an earthquake the other day, and it was like the epicenter of it. It was only like a 4.7, which isn't tiny, but it's also not crazy big. But the epicenter of it was like less than a mile from my house, so we got a good old shake, and nothing broke though. Freaked out my cats, but other than that,
we had one of those like probably a year or two ago that was pretty close to us. It was just over the hill in Malibu, and it was one of those it was like a whoop bump. Like the whole house kind of just felt like it went up and down.
That one. I think I remember that one.
Again, nothing broke. It was tiny. It was really short, but it was just like we were like, did a car roll over in front of our house or what's going on? It was very weird. But so yeah, we get high rent. We have awful summers. We have earthquakes, but it's the price to pay, I guess.
It's worth it. And you know what? Shout out to Gabrielle Schmaderer, our social media maven. I'd rather deal with earthquakes than hurricanes any day of the week.
That's true. She was right under the path of a nice little hurricane a couple of weeks ago that ended up diverting, I think. But boy, howdy.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's also had some cool experiences with alligators, which is a thing that we don't have to deal with in Los Angeles either. So,
That's true. I did see a coyote last night crossing the street when I was picking my wife up from work, and it was like light out. So seeing a coyote when it's still light out, just like casually crossing a street, it's still weird, but I love it. I had to slow down and yell at it to get out of the street because I respect life,
True to our reputation, it's proof that just because Seth isn't here, we can't stay on topic for more than 30 seconds at a time. It's pretty amazing.
Nor should we. Let's give the people a smorgasbord of information, useless or otherwise, and then they can decide what they need. They can pick and choose. Like a buffet.
We're a car podcast, but we're also an informational buffet. I like that a lot. Speaking of Seth, he is enjoying a much needed vacation with his family. We're not going to tell you where because we don't want you following him around, but he will be back next week as the host, and he's going to do a much better job, I'm sure, than I'm going to do today. But, why don't we just jump into it? We are going to be talking some very random things that we've just been thinking about on chat for the last couple of months. We're going to jump into, before we do that, first off, Kyle, tell me about your fleet. How are things going? What are you doing this week? What are you driving?
Well, I don't have any press cards or anything, but I did take some time yesterday during my little self-imposed lunch break to go out and attempt to figure out why there is water ingress in my 911. I think there's something going on with the sunroof drain, but that's like a minor, really, really minor thing. The big issue is water likes to dump on my feet sometimes after I've gone through a car wash, and also in the passenger footwell, which is not great for a lot of reasons. But I think I might have figured some of it out. So that's good. I need to get back up in there. I purchased a trombone cleaner, which is, it's basically like a drain snake, but with a little brush on the end. And
It
I
is
need,
literally for the cleaning of trombones. There's no euphemism there.
yep, nope, $8 from Amazon, and there we go. But I think I'm going to try and sort of roto root out the bottom of my
Yeah.
HVAC evaporator box or whatever, and I think that is causing a lot of my issues. So we'll see. That's actually pretty accessible. That's the thing. The 911, I've said this before, the 911 is excellent. So many things are so easy to work on my 996. Like, it's really a car. It's sort of like the last of the 911s that were made to be worked on by humans.
That's so funny because it's just not the car that I think of when I think of easy accessibility. Like, you know, and I guess it might just be because the 986 is so impossible to work on in so many ways.
Yeah. That's why rear engine beats mid engine every time.
There you go. Yeah, famously, that's famously the very popular opinion among race car drivers for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, what are you gonna do? Yeah, like they're using like big stuff. Like, you know, a lot of things require you to lower the engine, but
Yeah.
it's 2 bolts and you can drop it like an inch or two, and you don't have to do anything else or disconnect anything else, and it gives you a whole bunch more access to like the top of the engine.
Cool.
Yeah, overall, generally a pretty pleasant experience working on that car. So we'll see if I figured out my problem or if I'm going back to the drawing board. I really don't want to take it to a shop and pay Porsche shop prices to have this diagnosed. So we'll see.
Yeah, agreed. Best of luck to you. I might have to borrow the trombone snake sometime soon because my Z4 has a similar issue where after a big rainstorm, it'll just dump a bunch of water. It won't dump a bunch of water, but it will just like slowly accumulate in the driver's side footwell. And I haven't been able to figure it out. I thought for sure that it was the roof seal, so I helped plug up some leaks that I thought I saw in the roof seal. Nothing there. It's not the windshield seal. It's not the usual place for the top drains to have issues. Top drains usually backfill into the trunk and like the rear carpet, but this is all in the front. So I'm gonna have to try. I'll have to try doing the top drains anyway and see if that solves it. But
yeah, I mean, again, HVAC stuff, especially if you're like running the air conditioner a lot, which this time of year you would be.
Yeah,
that might be it. So there you go.
The other big task on our let's see, there we go. Let me find it. The other big task on our weekend. I can't lay claim to any of this, but this is Noah's BMW 328i. So this is the naturally aspirated inline six. This is the last year that they did the naturally aspirated inline six in the 3 Series. So it's kind of a cool car. And he found himself in a snowball of maintenance a couple of weeks ago where the third radiator in 15,000 miles let go.
Ooh.
And so he finally upgraded to an all aluminum radiator, including the aluminum end tanks. And then the other thing that he's doing is, we'll get into this a little bit later, but he decided that while he was in there and draining the coolant anyway,
famous last words.
While he was in there, yeah, he's doing a 3-stage manifold, intake manifold swap from the earlier BMW 330i. So the 328i has a single stage manifold. The 330i had a 3-stage manifold on the same engine, and it's a difference of like 30 or 35 horsepower or something like that, and it also just makes it scream. My car, my Z4, has a 3-stage manifold, and it is really kind of amazing how different the character of the engine is. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but for now, there's a little flying BMW to grace your screen.
I love it. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, as you said, we'll get into this topic a little more heavily later, but those are my favorite kind of mods. It's like playing car factory Lego.
Yeah, exactly. It is great for that. Porsches and BMWs are fairly legendary for being very amenable to car factory Lego.
Yeah, definitely. Volvos, Subarus, of course, big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those poor bastards.
Wait, what's next? Yeah. I there has to be a way to bulletproof one. I dream of a bulletproofed like EJ20 turbo. There has to be a way to make them just incandescently reliable.
I'm sure there is. I think you just have to like turn the power down.
Yeah.
And not have the 5-speed transmission. So basically what I'm saying is Seth is going to have a bad time.
Just stop it. The man can't defend himself. Let's not drag him just yet. Well, one thing that I am pretty excited about is this week they're dropping off. I don't have it yet, so I don't have any live photos, but they're dropping off a GMC Canyon AT4X
Oh,
with
cool.
the AEV, like all of the stuff from
Hmm.
the AEV kit. Let me find a good photo that I can share. This one will do.
I think
Um,
our good friend Steve Ewing just had that car, and he had some feelings about it. So I'm curious what you think when you actually get to
ah,
drive it.
yeah, I'm excited to share that then. Let's
Hmm.
see. Where is There it is. So this is the one that I'm getting. It's the GMC
Ooh.
media photo, but that's the actual car that I'm getting. Do you know the price of this car, Kyle, off the top of
I
your
would
head?
bet it's in the $60,000 to $70,000 range, knowing what I know about GM and fancy trim levels.
Narrow it down a little bit for me. Give me a number.
I'm gonna say $62,000.
If we were on Price is Right, that would be a thoroughly decent bid. This is a $67,990 car. Um,
That's a lot of cashish for a midsize.
the AT4 just on its own, the AT4X is $54,300,
Hmm.
and then this one has a $10,100 AEV edition package, which includes honestly a lot of pretty cool stuff. It includes genuine boron steel skid plates front and rear. Those rock sliders that you see running along the side of the car. These
Hmm.
really very cool AEV looking wheels. I think they're beadlock capable too. Let me see if I can confirm that 100%. They are beadlock capable 17-inch wheels. And then, yeah, just like I said, skid plates up the wazoo. So this is
That,
actually like a
that big
pretty
old
solid.
winch too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Massive winch. I mean, so like right there, you're getting winches are usually about a $4,000 add-on to a new truck, once you
Yep.
get the winch capable bumper and the winch and everything else. So you are getting a lot of aftermarket stuff built right into the truck. And again, it's got the GMC warranty, which is probably nice for some people, but $67,000 is a pretty tough pill to swallow for a mid-sized truck. So I'm looking forward to driving it. I'm going to take it off road this weekend, and I'll just be sure to report back and talk about what cool stuff it can do. And it's going to be a fun time.
I'm excited to hear about that. Where are you going off road?
I think I'll probably do actually your pictures that you took of your Ineos Grenadier have me thinking that I want to do Cleghorn. I haven't done Cleghorn in a really long time, so I think I'm going to try
Oh.
Cleghorn Trail. Is that where you were?
No, I was Hungry Valley, but Hungry Valley's closed after
Oh,
the post fire
that's right.
recently.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
you may have to do Cleghorn or Rower Flats.
I love Rower. Like, is that how you say it? Rower
I think so.
Flats?
I think so. I'm not sure.
That one is a great. I did that in the um, Silverado ZR2 recently, and I had a
Hmm.
great time. And that was a really, again, also a very fun truck. You can actually probably see that review coming to Car ID later this week. So be sure to keep your
Cool.
ears peeled if you like ZR2s. But yeah, love Rower Flat. That is a great off-highway area. But I haven't done Cleghorn in a long time. I thought you took those photos from Cleghorn, and I haven't done that one in a long time. And I love
Hmm.
Cleghorn so much. So I might venture out to San Bernardino and do that instead.
Nice. Nice.
Speaking of off-roading, that's going to kind of be our topic today a little bit. We're going to talk about off-roading is a very expensive hobby. Like most things automotive related are pretty expensive. Off-roading is definitely up there in the like subgenres of automotive enthusiasm because it's really hard on a vehicle. Uh, so you're going to be breaking stuff more frequently. Tires are super expensive. I did not
Yeah.
realize I haven't priced out big tires since I was 16 years old, and I was looking for a set of 31s for my brother's
Oh, they're brutal right
80,
now.
82 Toyota, and I paid $250 for a set of four pre-owned. They weren't brand new, but $250 20 years ago, and I thought that was an incredible amount of money, like a stunningly high amount of money. So the fact that I bought tires for my Land Cruiser a couple of months ago and spent $1,400 was shocking to me, absolutely shocking. So
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
really expensive hobby.
It can be
Um,
for sure,
that's
but it
that's
doesn't
true.
have to be. It doesn't have to be,
Exactly.
which leads us to
Off-roading on the cheap. We spent our morning talking about some of our little pet favorite off-roaders. And let's lead off with you. You gave me a surprisingly sensible option.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to give you
Your
one
personal
sensible
predilection.
option.
It's a pretty impressive machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thoroughly acceptable little. So tell me what do you like about this car?
I've always loved the Xterra. Like since they first came out, I tried to convince my mom to buy one when she was trying to buy her first SUV. She ended up buying a Honda Passport, like in the early 2000s, late 90s one.
Love it.
In what was the colors, like rodeo blue or something like that, is really nice. But like these are serious off-roaders. Like they're really robust. You got like a big lazy 4-liter V6 in it, which any Toyota fan would love. And like they're just, yeah, they're cheap, they're stout, you can put a bunch of stuff on them. The drivetrains are great. Like you just, for the money, like they're hard to beat. And the other thing too is that they're not cool yet. Is for some reason people are not freaking out about these in the same way that they do like 4Runners and stuff. And that's a mistake. Like this, I mean, this is a lot of SUV. I mean, this one is like real tidy, and he want $5,500 for it. Like that's nothing. You can get him manual, I believe, and you can get him with a factory supercharger too, which obviously is going to be more money. But like they come in colors, which I love colors. They have like a sort of a Land Rover vibe to them with the kind of the stepped roof situation. When they were new, they came with a first aid kit in the rear tailgate, which is, I think, super cool. I just love them. Big fan. Always been a big fan. Never got around to buying one, but big fan.
This was a fun. We'll just stop sharing for a minute while I find. This was I remember when this car came out. It was like my dream, absolute dream car in 2000. This was the only thing I wanted, and it's literally just because of the marketing campaign that they had around this thing in that turn of the year, that turn of the millennium. I remember there was just so much like. Hold on just a second. I'm going to pull it up real quick. No, these are great though. I'm a huge fan of these trucks. Like you said, that 4-liter V6 is like one of the all-time great small pickup truck engines. It's so torque rich. It's so lazy. Like you can just kind of like gun it in 6th gear on the freeway, and it'll just get you down the road. I love this engine.
They used it forever. So finding parts for it, super easy, pretty cheap. Like Xterras are pretty plentiful in junkyards still. So if you want to do that stuff, like it's a great way to get into off-roading with some creature comforts without having to like go completely into debt and buy something that's ruinous, which, I would normally recommend, but I'm just,
And we'll get to that in just a moment. But for now, let's just kind of enjoy the glory of this like mid 2000s. That's not what I want. I don't want to present a video file. Let's just enjoy the glory of this like early 2000s. Oh yeah. Look at this adventurous human getting into his waterproof Nissan Xterra interior.
Ooh, a mountain board.
He's gonna take a nasty tumble.
I mean,
love it.
Nissan
there you go. There's that first aid kit.
Everything you need, nothing you don't.
I remember their whole deal with this one was, and I think they actually ended up offering leather on a later model, but when they first came out with it, it was like no leather seats, no wood trim, like F you if that's what you want out of your SUV, which was kind of cool. Kind of an interesting mentality there.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like has a little bit of style still though, which I like.
Yeah, they're cool. I'm a fan. Good choice. We're gonna kind of stay in that era, be far less cool about it, but we are gonna stay kind of in that era with my first pick. This is the Suzuki XL7. I don't know what it is about these, but I love them so much.
My neighbor had one. They're pretty rad.
I had a Sidekick for a long time, and I loved it. And it was a little Billy Goat, and it went everywhere I wanted it to, even though it only had like 7.2 inches of ground clearance and like all of 96 horsepower on a really, really good day. But I loved the Sidekick. And so then when I was like thinking about getting a newer SUV, when I got my Land Cruiser, I wanted something that was a little bit newer, a little bit more powerful, blah, blah, blah. And I was actually thinking about getting one of these. Still a body-on-frame vehicle. Still, if you get the four-wheel drive, you still get low range, like a dedicated low-range four-wheel drive, and then a surprisingly long list of aftermarket accessories that you can get for them. This one
That's the thing about
is
Suzuki's is,
one of the later models.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Suzuki's
Go
is
ahead.
like they may not be that popular here, but around the
Yeah.
world, everybody loves them. So yeah, so there's always tons of stuff that you can do with them.
Well, and the thing that I love about the Vitara in general, or the XL7 and Vitara in general, is that they're still so incredibly narrow that even though you are a little bit longer with, with like the third row seat and the more spacious rear seat and the big, nice big cargo area and everything, even though this is a little bit longer than most of them, it's still so incredibly narrow. So it like fits down like trails that you'd be scraping the sides of a larger vehicle, and I love that. That's what I love the most about my Sidekick, was like parking it in like tiny little parking spaces or driving down really narrow trails where like even my buddies in like YJ Wranglers would be getting pinstripes. My car would come through almost completely unscathed. So I think this is an underappreciated off-road machine, and especially, again, we're talking about value. This one's got 126,000 miles for $5,900. Like you said, Suzuki's are very thick on the ground all over the world, so like you're not going to have a hard time finding parts, whether even in the States. Like it's not difficult to find parts for these, and I feel like you're kind of just getting a lot of small SUV for the money, while still being able to do some genuine off-road stuff, which I love. I love this thing.
For sure. And I tell you what, I know I can picture exactly what that interior smells like just looking at the photo. Like there's like the undertone of like cheap plastic and like sort of vaguely toxic wasty fabric, and then like just enough like spilled coffee to you really, it's like there's a very specific sort of melange of smells.
There is a vibe for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love it.
I love this era. Love is a euphemism here, but I love this era of like Japanese mouse fur interiors so much. Just that like sickly velveteen feel to the seats. I love it so much. It's just
this is a slight tangent, but I just miss cloth seats in general. When you could get a cloth seat in just about anything, like leathers is nice-ish, but like that's one of the things I like so much about like the Grenadier is that the interior is fabric, and so you get in, you sit down, it doesn't burn you when you sit down, when you get in it in the middle of the summer. You're like pretty well locked in. You're not sliding around or anything. Yeah, easy to clean. I love it. I miss that. I like that there's some manufacturers are bringing back like luxury textile interiors, like they're rebranding like Volvo and the
textile.
Kvadrat or whatever it is and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Kvadrat textile. It's not cloth. It's Kvadrat textile.
That's right.
This was a thing like for Japanese luxury automakers on the home market. Leather was like not desirable because of the rude noises that it made when you wiggled around on it. So like wool and cloth were like much more like au courant than leather ever was. And I feel like that makes a lot more sense to me. I don't totally understand. Leather ages really beautifully, I suppose. Like it looks really lovely when it's nicely maintained and worn in. But like other than that, I can't really come up with a great reason.
Good leather does, but like so much of the cheap, crappy leather that gets put in cars, like now and especially over the last like 20 years or so, it just sort of like flakes off and is gross and blah. Like some manufacturers, like BMW leather, is always really good. Like that always holds up so well in my experience. But yeah, like a lot of the Japanese leather or even stuff like Land Rovers, like Range Rovers, it just really like it wears out rather than in, I guess. So unless you have to be like super fastidious taking care of it, otherwise it just gets gross. But
which no one really does anymore. Like that sounded really like kids these days, but people don't really maintain leather interiors and stuff like I know I for sure didn't until I like saw the effects of it. Like that was when I like really started like actually conditioning my leather. But people don't do that. Like no one's gonna spend 4 hours wrapping their seats in saran wrap so that the leather conditioner can soak in well enough. Like, that's not a thing that people do. So
I love it.
it's
It's actually my favorite part of interior detailing is like the feeding and caring for the leather, because it smells so good, and then like at the end, like when you touch it, it feels good. Like it just really, it's very satisfying.
I agree wholeheartedly. I remember the first time I did that was with I was like hopeless. I don't know why I was trying to revive this leather, but I had an old 90s BMW with just like hatefully cracked leather everywhere you looked. And I remember I like did the like massaging it in with your hands and stuff like that. And then I slapped some saran wrap and a seat cover over the top of it. And for like the next 4 days, it just baked in the sun. I mean, the car smelled so good. It was like such a like weird, like earthy. It smelled like mold, but in a good way. I don't even know how to describe it. It just smelled so good.
Ugh, leather and crayons all mixed together in one, questionably safe mixing pot, for sure.
Speaking of British off-roaders, and speaking of you no longer being a rational human being, I need you to justify this ridiculous choice for me. This is your next off-roader that you want to convince someone would be a good economical way to get into off-roading.
Yeah. Well, so okay. There is some method to my madness. So the LR3,
okay.
Specifically the LR3, not the LR4. Okay. The LR3 in the US mostly came with the 4.4 liter Jaguar AJ V8, which is actually a super, super stout, well-known quantity kind of V8. They used it in all kinds of stuff. The Lincoln LS, the Ford Thunderbird, obviously lots of Jaguar Land Rover products. They're great. And then they put it in this vehicle, which it's so overbuilt as to be comedic. The Land Rover's like, okay, well, let's put this thing. This is going to be a serious off-roader. Let's put this thing on a ladder frame chassis, like a fully boxed chassis. But what if they really want to go and do something? I know. Let's make the body of it an actual unibody structure. And we'll just bolt them together. It doesn't matter. Belt and bracers, they call it in the UK. And so it weighs like 6,500 pounds. But it's awesome. They're awesome. There's a lot of them on the road still. They have their problems, as any like sort of luxury SUV from that period would. I mean, air suspension is a thing that I love, and I think it's key to sort of the mystique of this car. And it's not as complicated as some of the other air suspension systems out there. Like they're less problematic, provided things, you do a little bit of maintenance. The interiors hold up reasonably well, except for the headliners, because for some reason the British they can't figure out a headliner. And this one's in Tonga green, which is just like the best color. If I wasn't about to spend a whole bunch of money on my X5, I would quickly offload it and pick up this exact car because it's pretty sweet. They're great. I love them. And then they also whoop. You're sounding like you're in the Matrix. One more time.
Carry on. Go ahead.
Well,
I said, to be fair, only parts of it are still in Tonga green.
Well, that's true. That's a curse and blessing of living in Southern California. We don't get rust, but we don't have clear coat for a long time either. But yeah, like if you want to take it like off-roading or overlanding, there's tons of stuff for it, tons of parts. There's some really cool stuff that you can do. Like I can't remember the name of the company, but it effectively like plugs in and takes over your air suspension controller, and so it'll like self-level. So if you have like a rooftop tent, it'll self-level for you, and you can do all kinds of stuff. They're so rad. Like I really am struggling between this or an L322 Range Rover for my next sort of car, and I wouldn't recommend that for most people. That's like a real sort of Sophie's Choice situation. I am used to painful European car experiences, and so have adjusted my brain to be fine with that sort of like barrage of abuse. But yeah,
listen, I wish you Godspeed through it all. Honestly, whichever way you pick, it's a good thing you work for an editorial outlet. That's supported by a car parts company. That's all I'll say about that.
It does help. It does help. But yeah, like again, like so specifically the LR3, the LR4 had like the later 5-liter V8s and the V6s, and those had a lot of problems, specifically with like engine timing chain guides and stuff. And those are like, that's like an $8,000 repair to replace those guides. Oh my God, hold on a second. I'm getting invaded by a giant orange cat.
Well, hi, giant orange cat.
Yeah.
Hello, giant orange cat.
Just jumped up behind my monitor like a feral animal.
I love them. That's a good animal.
We got some Instagram chats. Let's see. In Boricua, in PR, NJ Boricua in PR says all about OEM-Plus and has a 2007 328i wagon. Blah blah blah. Not there. Oh, and Rentec makes a self-leveling computer that does self-leveling and stuff for that in Mercedes. So, you know, not just Land Rover, but yeah, I love them. I don't know why I'm such a broken person with my Eurotrash obsession, but here we are.
I get it in like a more idealistic world where I would love an LR3. This is such a handsome SUV design. They are like incredibly capable. They're such good off-roaders. We talked a couple podcasts ago that one of my magic wand of reliability cars would be a Discovery 2. Like, I get it. The Land Rover thing is like, I get it. I just also hate working on cars so much, so I just won't. I won't do it. The siren call. It's not clarion enough for me to actually follow through.
More of an Alpine man. That's a bad car stereo joke for the folks at home. I'm sorry for that.
That was terrible. I loved it.
So what's your pick? What's the good advice sensible advice that you're going to give people because you're a sensible guy?
No, that's a really unfortunate. I wish you hadn't teed it up like that because my next pick is not even slightly sensible. This is my second vehicle. I'm really excited to share this with you. I was excited to find it on CarGurus a couple of days ago. This is a 1994 Hyundai Galloper. For people listening at home, Hyundai made a version of the Mitsubishi Montero that used Mitsubishi's engines and platforms and everything like that, but it's just badged as a Hyundai and it has a high roof. So this is a first generation Mitsubishi Montero in South Korean clothes, and I just love it. I don't know what it is about this particular one that just kind of like pulls me in a little bit. But
I watched Old Boy not that long ago, and also Squid Game, and so there was like several Gallopers. I thought they were Korean market only. I've never seen one in the US. But yeah,
they were Korean market only, but just kind of a very silly, very offbeat. And you're gonna pay a little bit more for like the KDM like vibe because this is $13,500 for a Mitsubishi Montero with, doesn't say the mileage, so never mind. But $13,500 is a fair amount of coin for of this vintage. So you will pay for, being a Hyundai fanboy here. So again, this is not phenomenal buying advice that we're providing you today. If you want to get into cheap off-roading, you should probably not get a Hyundai Galloper. You should just get a Montero. But I just couldn't help but share this little thing on here. The greatest part about it, in my opinion, is that the interior, if my internet will share it with you, the interior is color matched to the exterior. So that is just yellow on yellow crime. And that was a horrible way of saying that. That is a very yellow interior, though. Very, very yellow interior.
This generation of like the Mitsubishi version, several journalist people that we know in Southern California have them and love them. I know Lynn Woodward has or had a two-door Montero. And then Jeff Glucker has his, which has like one of the best custom plates I think I've ever seen on a car, and it's Duhkar, Duhkar.
Duhkar, that's funny.
Yeah, because it's all like sort of kitted out and overlanded out. It's great, even though I think he just blew a motor or something. But Mitsubishi life, what are you gonna do?
Well, they tend to be like decently. They tend to like run poorly for a long time, like you can kind of like limp a Mitsubishi motor along. I don't know if this one has a 2.6 or the 3-liter V6, But I know the 2.6 inline four, like they're not great engines, but they just kind of run. They just kind of keep going, no matter what you throw at them. So, I just kind of would enjoy the vibe of pulling up to like a Lynn Woodward, Jeff Glucker meeting in a Hyundai and kind of like joining the club despite their protestations, because this is indeed a Montero.
That's true. Yeah. It's the tribunal of Mitsubishi products. I love it. It's a summit.
Do you know Theo Van Runkel at all?
Yep. With his Pajero Evo.
Yeah, let's pull that up and show the people at home. He was pretty mad when I got a Land Cruiser. He thought it was a really poor choice.
Well, I mean, it is a poor choice if you only ever make bad choices. I don't know what that
this
means.
Is his. I don't either, but I like it. This is his. He just imported a Evo, and this is him doing Rower flats in his Evo, and it is so cool. This is the like 2-door short wheelbase wide body version of the Montero that they didn't sell in America, and it is, I mean, properly very, very cool. What's under the hood? Is it a special engine at all, or is it just mostly suspension bits?
I think it's mostly suspension stuff, like interior and things, but it's a V6. I don't remember which V6 because I'm not really a big Mitsubishi guy. I will say the one thing I like about Mr. Van Runkel is that he is pretty open to allowing people to drive his car. And I haven't taken it up on it yet, but I probably will. Hopefully before the end of the year, I'll bug him about it.
Yeah, I support this. Cool cars, those Mitsubishis. But yeah, so we got some solid options for you. We've got one pseudo-Korean, 2 Japanese cars, and a British off-roader. Possibly the most legendary off-roading brand, maybe except Jeep. I don't know. Where would you put Land Rover over Jeep?
Well, I mean, Land Rover, it's the best 4x4 by far, as they say.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Land Rover always get you there,
my friend.
Yeah, Land Rover will always get you there, but it probably won't get you home.
Great, fantastic. Well, so we kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the pod, but we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite OEM-Plus modifications. OEM-Plus is like my favorite version. We talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago too, but it's like my favorite way to modify a car. Just, what did you say? Factory Lego? How did you call it?
Yeah, like car factory Lego.
Car factory Lego. I love that.
Plug one bit from a different model into your model that typically bolts up, but for some reason was never offered, and there you go.
Your choice is possibly one of my favorites. Like whenever I get a new car, I dream of doing this to all of my like toys. And this is your what is it? Describe what we're seeing on the screen there.
So this, I wrote this for another outlet I used to write for, but this is my 996, and I hate aftermarket stereos like so much. I'm not a fan. Like they look bad. Like the wiring always ends up being kind of hacky, and it's not for me, right? I'll usually suffer with like some crappy adapter or something just so I don't have to mess with the car. But Porsche, started offering this a few years ago. This is it's the Porsche Classic Communication Management. So the first version they had is like a little tiny 3-inch screen, and it's for like old 911s and stuff, like air-cooled stuff. This was the second one they came out with, and it's for 996s and Boxsters. And it is a fully plug-and-play factory, like everything matches, fonts match, LED colors match, factory CarPlay system. Basically the operating system, the screen, everything is basically what you'd get on a base model 718 right now, which is kind of cool.
That's right.
So disgustingly overpriced that it's hard to recommend for that. Like this is like, it was like a $1,600 thing, but I love my 911 more than most people love their children, I think. And since I don't have to pay for this to go to college, we'll treat it a little bit. But yeah, it's great. It was phenomenal. You have to like move the center stack stuff around, but again, that's kind of like
Okay.
Lego. Like you have to move the climate control down to the bottom, so you have to buy a little
Okay.
bezel for that. But the wires and everything are long enough, and then the thing itself plugs into all the factory stuff through like fiber optic and whatever. It's got GPS receiver, does
Oh,
Bluetooth
wow.
and stuff. Yeah, this one only does wired CarPlay, which is,
Sure.
and it has a stupid little breakout box, which I kind of hate for what it costs, but you know, whatever.
That like little guy that's sitting in the bin right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's great. It's phenomenal. Like it makes my car feel so much more modern.
Yeah.
Like it's got all the other stuff. Like it drives like a newish car. It's got air conditioning that works, whatever. But this makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
It's great, and it fully integrates. Like mine was a particularly easy install. Some of them are a little trickier based on different stereo options, but mine is a second generation 996 with the Bose stereo system. So it was just like the easiest version of the install. I'd never taken apart the dash on this car. This was like one of the first things I did to the car, and it took me like an afternoon. And I don't do car stereo stuff, obviously, based on my feelings. Again, going back to just how easy the 996 is to work on. So yeah, this was obviously, it was never officially available in like another 996, so it's not quite like your intake manifold swap, but it's from Porsche. It fits like it's like Lego. It's great, and I highly recommend to anybody who has way too much money to spend on something of questionable real utility, like but it's good. It makes me happy. So
the only thing I don't care for about the Porsche 996 PCCM like swap over is that you have to get rid of your cassette holder to make space for your climate controls.
You do.
I just wish.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you don't need a cassette holder because you can't play cassettes anymore.
That's an entirely different problem in and of itself. But
that's a whole other kettle of fish. Yeah, but yeah, like the thing that I was like the most psyched about was when I got it all set up and plugged in. Like the stock LED color is the same sort of dark reddish orange as the dash, and that kind of stuff like makes me so happy. So
100%. I did go aftermarket for my I had an E30 for a little while, and I did get an aftermarket stereo for that one, but I spent probably 3 weeks looking for one that had red lights that matched the interior, and sacrificed a lot of other features, I'm sure, to get the red lights. But I agree, you very well done there. And
quick shout out to the homie Mr. Pete Nelson.
Hey.
He's a Car ID behind the scenes contributor. He's an excellent automotive journalist and just a hell of a nice guy. Drives he's a glutton for punishment as well when it comes to Euro stuff. He's got an Audi S4 with a twin turbo V6, and he's got a 128i that he takes to the racetrack. So
yeah, absolutely.
Big shout out. We'll have him on the podcast at some point. But yeah, absolutely. So that's my big Lego thing. So go, your go.
No, I support this wholeheartedly. I do just want to say I want to highlight a comment that Seth left, which he shouldn't have because he should be on vacation. But Seth left a comment saying, I tried a dip in cassette nostalgia a few years ago, and it was disappointing. I don't know. I guess I need to give it a try because I have a cassette player in my my Land Cruiser, my Lexus, and I really enjoyed. I also have a CD changer in that too, though. But I really enjoyed a couple of months ago. I got a tape from Eccentrica, the Lamborghini resto mod people. They sent a cassette tape as part of their press kit, and I was so excited to finally have a tape to play in my, and it made me want to comb eBay. So I might have to go buy some tape in the car, and I might have to fight with Seth the next time when he's back from his vacation. He's on the pod. As for now, though, go offline and go have fun with your family. Don't comment on us morons.
Yeah.
Seth only. Seth, that's advice for Seth only. Everyone else comments on us morons.
My co-host is slowly descending into the matrix once again. Yeah, tapes have always sounded like ass. They're terrible. I hate them. But the feeling that you get when you put the tape into the tape player, like that chunk thing, very satisfying. Really like that.
Agreed on all fronts. There's something tactile about tapes. Like even like having to like manually rewind a tape, there's something enjoyable and tactile about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I say that as a
since
guy
apparently
that has,
I am
like,
just
a big record collection, and I've like moved it from house to house for like 15-20 years, and I mean I can't talk. I'm a filthy hipster, I guess, but like they actually sound good. I wouldn't say they sound better than other things necessarily, but they sound great, and I like the way they look.
Yeah, there's a unique enjoyment to a vinyl for sure. My OEM-Plus mod, I just have the one, but I want to just plug it more time. This is Noah's E90. If the photo will ever pop up, oh my gosh. Getting a new internet service. If anyone in Southern California has recommendations, let me know. So this is his E90. As you can see, the top of the engine's been, or the engine has been partially disassembled to make space for that beautiful BMW branded 3-stage manifold right there. This is actually, speaking of the mod that he did to his 1 series, and he turned his 128 into an effective 130. And when his car passed Noah decided to pull the trigger and do it for
completely unintelligible,
the
amigo.
E90 as well.
Yeah, you're completely unintelligible.
We're trying.
It's like you're talking through like a kid's like Casio keyboard toy. That's like it's pretty good actually. I might record it and use it later, but yeah, we're not getting the information. But it's a hell of an engine bay. I love it. I do love the manifold, and I think you were saying that Pete did something similar. I think you did too. I think some of you remember that. Underappreciated drivetrain, that one. And I'm now the only person in the show. Yeah. So there you go. You wanted to know about OEM-Plus factory Lego stuff, and there you go. Deer in the headlights. So yeah, anyway, this is one of our favorite things to do every week, this podcast. It's a good time. We love it. We're looking forward to having some guests on, so it's not just me and Seth and Brett. I get sick of looking at my own face, but yeah. So anyway, stay tuned. Next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and yeah, come visit us. If you want to pitch in with a topic, or you have anything else to add to the conversation, please hit us up at tips@caridrive.com. Or I'm sorry, it's just carid.com. Check out all of our written work at carid.com/drive. We're really excited about what we're doing there. It's pretty cool. It's a kind of a big experiment in doing sort of automotive journalism without having to rely on ad support, which is something that's really important these days, because that's a tough model to keep sustainable at this point. So yeah, come check us out. Maybe buy a part or something. And yeah, come and see us again next week. Thanks very much.